story number 1 viewing slot. I moved to this apartment 6 months ago, specifically because of the security features. Ground floor entrance with a keycard system, motion sensor lighting in the hallway, and the landlord advertised himself as meticulous about tenant safety. I'm a freelance graphic designer, so I work from home most days. Privacy matters to me. It's not paranoia, it's just practical. I live alone. I like knowing the locks work. The inspection happened on a Thursday afternoon. The sky was that flat gray Portland gets in late autumn, the kind that makes everything feel like it's happening inside a photograph. My landlord, Marcus, was doing his quarterly walk through. He's in his 60s, owns 3 buildings in the neighborhood. He seemed fine, professional. He checked the smoke detector, the windows, the bathroom fixtures. Standard stuff. While he was in the bathroom, he said something casual. He was looking at the vent cover above the toilet, just glancing at it, and he said, "Yeah, the usual viewing spot. Makes sure everything's up to code in here." I remember exactly how he phrased it. I assumed he meant the hallway peephole, the kind of safety feature older buildings have so landlords can check for emergency situations without entering. I'd seen it when I first toured the place. I didn't think anything of it. That night, I took a shower around 9 o'clock. The bathroom is small, maybe 6 by 8 feet. When the water stopped running, I heard something. A sound I'd never noticed before. A faint mechanical whir, almost like a motor winding down. Very quiet. The kind of sound you only hear when everything else is silent. I stood there in the dark, dripping on the tile, listening. I told myself it was the exhaust fan. Old buildings have old fans. They make noises. But I'd lived here for 6 months. I knew what the exhaust fan sounded like. This was different. This was rhythmic. Deliberate. I turned the shower back on. The whir stopped immediately. I waited maybe 30 seconds, then turned the water off again. 3 seconds of silence, and the whir started again. Same sound, same pattern. I'm not someone who panics easily. I design logos and websites. I spend most days alone, which I prefer. But standing there in a dark bathroom at 9 o'clock at night, listening to a sound I couldn't explain, I felt something shift in my chest. A kind of cold awareness. I dried off and got dressed. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The vent cover is about 12 inches above the toilet, centered on the wall. When I looked at it closely, I could see the screws had fresh scratches in them. Not old scratches. Fresh. The kind you get when you've recently unscrewed something. The grill itself sat slightly askew, maybe 1/8 of an inch off from where it should have been flush against the wall. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept telling myself there were explanations. The landlord had probably had someone service the vent. Maybe they'd installed something new. Maybe it was a humidity sensor. Maybe I was being paranoid. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Not just wrong. Deliberately wrong. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I needed more information. 2 days later, there was a monthly building meeting in the common area on the first floor. It's mostly just the landlord collecting rent checks and talking about maintenance issues. There are 4 other units in the building. I'd never really spoken to the other tenants much. A couple in 2B, a woman in 2C, a man in 4A. During the social hour, while Marcus was talking to the couple about the upcoming boiler inspection, I excused myself to use the bathroom, the one on the second floor. I knew it was a risk, but I needed to know. The vent cover was there. Same positioning, slightly askew. Same scratch pattern on the screws. I went back upstairs and checked the hallway bathroom on the 3rd floor. The one that serves the 2 units up there. Same thing. And then I checked the one on the first floor, near the landway. Same. All 4 bathrooms. All with the same vent covers in the same position with the same fresh scratches. I felt my hands shaking. I told myself to stay calm. I was 34 years old. I was in a building with other people. I could call someone. I could leave. But I needed to be sure before I said anything to anyone. I went back to my apartment and closed the door. I locked it. Then I locked it again, which I don't normally do. I sat on my bed and thought about what I'd seen. I thought about what Marcus had said. The usual viewing spot. I thought about the weir that stopped when the water was running. I documented everything. I took photographs of all 4 vent covers with my phone, making sure the scratches and positioning were visible. I wrote down the dates and times. I called the Portland Police Department's non-emergency line and explained what I'd found. The dispatcher took my information seriously. She said someone would contact me to discuss next steps. A detective called me back within an hour. I told her what I'd heard and what I'd seen. She asked if I wanted to file a formal report. I said yes. She said they would need to obtain a warrant to search the apartment and the landlord's property. She asked if I had somewhere else I could stay that night. I called my friend Sarah, who lives in Northeast Portland. She said I could come over immediately. I packed a bag with clothes and my laptop. I left my apartment and didn't look back at the vent cover. The detective called me the next morning. They'd executed the warrant at 6 in the morning. They found Marcus's laptop in his office, which is in the basement of the building. The laptop contained folders. Each folder was labeled with a tenant's first name and a move-in date. Inside each folder were video files, hundreds of them, all from the bathroom vents. I don't remember much after that. I remember the detective asking me questions. I remember her saying they were contacting the other tenants. I remember her saying they'd arrested Marcus and that he'd been doing this for at least 3 years across multiple buildings. I had to go back to my apartment, eventually to collect my things. I was going to move. I couldn't stay there. When I opened the bathroom door, I noticed the vent cover had been replaced. It was an older model, the kind that doesn't match any of the others in the building. Mismatched. Like someone had deliberately put back something different. I stood there looking at it, and I realized something that made my skin cold again. They'd replaced it. The police had taken the original, obviously, but someone had put a new one back. Someone who had access to the building. Someone who might still have keys. I packed the rest of my things quickly and left. I'm staying with Sarah for now. I haven't been back since. The detective said the case was solid, that Marcus would likely face serious charges. But I keep thinking about that replaced vent cover. I keep thinking about who had time to replace it between the warrant and when I returned. I keep thinking about the fact that I don't know if they got all the cameras. I don't know if there are other buildings. I don't know if other people had keys. I'm careful about locks now, more careful than before. But I don't feel safer. Story number 2, marked trail. I've been hiking this trail for 8 years. Every Saturday morning before dawn, same route, same pace. I know where the rhododendrons crowd the path, where the stream crossing gets slippery, where the fog settles thickest around 5:30 in the morning. It's my routine. It's safe because it's known. That Saturday in early October, I noticed the orange tape. Fresh surveyor's tape, the kind the Forestry Service uses for boundary marking, bright against the green of the hemlocks. I saw the first one tied to a white oak about 2 miles in, where the trail starts climbing. My first thought was maintenance work. Maybe they're planning a new access road or clearing deadfall. The tape was crisp, not weathered. Definitely new. I counted 7 more pieces as I climbed deeper, spaced roughly 200 yards apart, always on the right side of the trail, always at eye level. Professional work. I made a mental note to check the ranger station website later to see if they'd posted anything about upcoming projects. The fog was heavy that morning, thicker than usual, visibility maybe 30 feet. I could hear the drip of condensation from the canopy, the soft pad of my boots on the wet earth. My breathing sounded loud in the quiet. I was alone, which is why I hike alone. The solitude clears my head. I teach high school biology all week. Teenagers, noise, fluorescent lights, the constant low-level chaos of a classroom. Out here, there's just the trail and the forest and the sound of my own thoughts. By the time I reached my usual rest spot, a flat area near an old stone foundation, probably from a house that burned down 100 years ago, I'd found 12 pieces of orange tape. The pattern had started to feel less random. Each marker was placed at what looked like regular intervals. I tried to remember the distance between them. Maybe matching my usual pace. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Coincidence. The Forestry Service probably just marked a long section. I sat down on a moss-covered rock and opened my water bottle. That's when I smelled it. Cigarette smoke. Not old smoke, not something lingering from days ago. Fresh, recent. Mixed with the wet earth smell and the mineral smell of the stream somewhere below. I sat very still, listening. Nothing. No voices, no movement, no one visible through the fog. The smoke smell drifted again, stronger, then faded. My rational mind offered explanations. Another hiker, maybe someone who'd started earlier and was further up the trail, or someone camping illegally nearby. People do that sometimes. It's not ideal, but it's not unusual. Except there were no campsites in this area. No flat ground suitable for a tent. No fire rings, no trash, no evidence of anyone camping anywhere near here. I'd hiked this road 100 times. I knew what the area looked like. I sat there for maybe 5 minutes, listening. The fog seemed to muffle sound completely. I couldn't hear the stream anymore. I couldn't hear anything except my own breathing and the occasional drip from the trees. I decided to leave early. I wasn't scared, exactly. Just uneasy, ready to be back at my car. That's when I noticed the blind. It was about 15 feet off the trail, built into the angle between 2 hemlocks. Branches lashed together with what looked like paracord, creating a rough shelter with a clear sight line back toward my rest spot. I would never have seen it if I hadn't stood up and turned toward the tree line. My stomach went tight. I approached it slowly, telling myself it was probably old, probably abandoned. Hunters sometimes built blinds, though bow season hadn't started yet. But as I got closer, I could see that the branches were freshly cut. The paracord wasn't weathered, and inside, on the ground, were energy bar wrappers, Cliff Bars, chocolate chip flavor, the same brand I buy, the same flavor I have in my backpack right now. I picked up one of the wrappers. It was still slightly damp, not brittle. Days old, maybe. Not weeks. That's when the other thought hit me, the one that made my hands start to shake. The orange tape. 12 pieces spaced at regular intervals. My usual hiking pace is about 3 miles per hour on this terrain. 12 pieces at 200 yards apart would take me roughly 45 minutes to cover. My usual rest spot is 45 minutes into the hike. The tape marked my route. The tape marked my pace. The tape marked where I would be at any given time. and someone had built a blind with a sight line to my rest spot. I didn't think. I just started moving. Not back down the trail the way I came, but directly downslope through the undergrowth, pushing through rhododendrons and laurel thickets, moving as fast as I could without falling. The fog made it worse. I couldn't see more than 10 feet ahead. I was crashing through branches, making noise, not caring about noise anymore. That's when I heard it. Behind me. A branch snapping. Not the small cracks of my own movement, but a sharp snap. Deliberate, someone else moving through the forest. I didn't look back. I kept moving downslope, faster, my legs burning, my breath ragged. The forest was all fog and wet branches, and the sound of my own panic. Another snap, farther back now, but definitely there. Definitely someone. The parking area is about a mile downslope from my rest spot. It took me maybe 12 minutes to get there, moving like I was being chased. My car was the only one in the lot. I got in, locked the doors, and sat there with my hands shaking on the steering wheel for maybe 2 minutes before I drove to the ranger station. The ranger on duty was a woman named Sarah, probably in her 50s, with the kind of weathered face that comes from spending decades outside. I told her about the tape and the blind. I told her about the cigarette smoke and the energy bar wrappers. I expected her to listen politely and suggest I was overreacting. Instead, she nodded slowly and pulled out a map. "Show me where," she said. I marked the locations of the orange tape and the blind. She studied the map for a moment, then opened a drawer and pulled out another map. This one had red pins on it. 7 pins, scattered across different trail systems in the park. 3 other solo hikers reported the same thing this month, she said quietly. Orange tape markers appearing on their regular routes. All of them, said the tape, appeared within days of their usual hiking schedule. One of them found a blind too. I felt something cold move through my chest. "Did you report this?" I asked. "The tape? The pattern?" "We did," she said. "State police are investigating, but we don't have a description. We don't have a name. We just have tape and blinds, and the fact that someone is paying very close attention to who hikes where and when." She folded her hands on the desk. "I'm going to file an official report on this one too," she said. "And I'm going to recommend that you don't hike alone for a while." "Not here." I nodded, but I wasn't really listening anymore. I was thinking about the cigarette smoke, about how close it had been. I was thinking about someone watching my rest spot from a blind, learning my schedule, learning my patterns. I was thinking about what would have happened if I'd stayed longer that morning, if I'd finished my water, if I'd decided to rest for another 10 minutes. I was thinking about how the forest I loved, the place where I went to be alone and clear my head, had become a place where I was being hunted. And I was thinking about how I would never know who was doing it, or why, or whether they were still out there, still watching other hikers, still tying orange tape to trees, still building blinds with sight lines to rest spots. The ranger was still talking, saying something about checking in with the police, about staying safe. But I wasn't really hearing her. I was already somewhere else, already back in that fog, already listening for the sound of branches snapping behind me. Story number 3, Loyalty Program. I'm sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop open, looking at this birthday card again. It arrived 3 days ago, and I keep coming back to it like there's something I'm missing. The card is from Save Mart, a grocery chain in Iowa. I stopped there once last June during a road trip to visit my sister. I was driving through Des Moines, needed to pick up snacks for the rest of the drive. I paid cash. I'm sure I paid cash, but the card knows my name. It knows my birthday is next week. The message is printed in that fake handwriting style, the kind that's supposed to look personal, but doesn't quite. We'd love to celebrate you, Sarah. Just my first name, just that. I work as a pediatric nurse at Hennepin County Medical Center. I'm careful about my information. I don't use social media. I don't shop online. I pay for most things in cash. But I did transfer my prescriptions to a local pharmacy last year, and I suppose that's how they got my birth date. That's the only explanation that makes sense. Data sharing between retailers and pharmacies. It happens. I know it happens. I'm telling myself this as I close the card and set it aside. That night, around 11 o'clock, my phone chimes. It's a notification sound I don't recognize, but the moment I hear it, my stomach tightens. It's my mother's ringtone. The exact ringtone she had on her old flip phone before she died in 2019. I never programmed that sound into this phone. I've never heard it on this phone. I open the notification. It's an email from a rewards program I've never joined. The subject line says, "Exclusive offer for our valued member." The email mentions my car, my 2019 Honda Civic, slate gray. It says, "We noticed you recently visited our partner mechanic, Tom's Auto Care, for an oil change. Come back and earn double points on your next service." Tom's Auto Care. That's where I took my car 2 weeks ago. I scheduled the appointment online, but I never used a rewards program to check in. I never gave them my email. I read the email 3 times. My hands feel cold. I immediately go to my bank's website and freeze my credit. Then I change my passwords. All of them. Gmail, banking, everything. I file a complaint with the FTC. I search my name on data broker websites and find myself listed on at least 30 different profiles. Some of them have my address. Some have my phone number. One has my mother's maiden name. It's after midnight now. I'm still at the kitchen table. I'm still in my work scrubs because I haven't moved since the email came through. Another email arrives. No subject line, just an attachment. The photo is of my street. It's dusk, maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 6. The light is that specific shade of blue, gray that happens in Minnesota in late autumn. My house is visible. My driveway is visible. My car is parked at the exact angle it's parked at right now, as I'm sitting here. I don't open any other attachments. I call the non-emergency police line. The officer who responds is patient. He's a man in his 50s, and he sits in my living room with his notebook open. I show him the emails. I show him the photo. I explain about the card, about the notification sound, about the way my information has been assembled. He listens. He nods. But when I finish, he closes his notebook and tells me that without a direct threat, without proof of trespassing, there's not much they can do. The emails could be from a data broker. The photo could be from Google Street View, or it could be old. The notification sound could be a coincidence. He says I should keep the emails, keep filing complaints, change my passwords regularly, and consider a security system if I'm concerned about my physical safety. He leaves around 1 in the morning. I lock the door behind him. I check every window. I close all the blinds. I sit on my couch with my laptop, refreshing my email every 30 seconds, waiting for something else to arrive. Nothing does. Around 3 in the morning, I realize I need to look at something. I need to step outside, just for a moment. I need to see my front porch in the dark. I put on my coat. I unlock the door slowly. The porch light is off, and I don't turn it on. I step outside into the cold. My welcome mat is rotated. It's turned at an angle, maybe 45 degrees from where it normally sits. The mat usually lies flat against the concrete, parallel to my front door. Now it's diagonal. I pick it up. Underneath, the concrete is clean. There's a rectangular outline where dust and pollen haven't settled. It's a perfect rectangle, the exact size of the mat. The outline is sharp. The mat was moved recently. Maybe today, maybe tonight. I stand there holding the mat, and I can feel my heart moving in a way that doesn't feel safe. I look down the street. The houses are dark. There are no cars. There's no one visible, but someone was here. Someone stood on my porch and moved my mat. Someone wanted me to know that they were here. I go back inside and lock the door. I put the mat back down, but I don't rotate it back to its original position. I leave it the way it was. I don't know why. Maybe because moving it back feels like I'm erasing evidence. Maybe because I want to know if it moves again. I sit on my couch. My laptop is still open. I'm still waiting for the next email. The house is quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like it's pressing down on me. I keep thinking about that photo. That dusk light. That specific angle of my car in the driveway. I keep thinking about someone standing on my street, pointing a camera at my house, knowing exactly what they were looking for. I keep thinking about the welcome mat, and the clean rectangle underneath, and the fact that someone was here. Someone was standing on my porch. Someone who knows where I live, what I drive, where I get my oil changed, when my birthday is, and what my mother's ringtone sounded like. I don't know how they know that last thing. I don't know how they know any of this. My phone is silent. My email is silent. The house is silent. I'm waiting. I don't know what